This is part two of my children being the first time my children was taken away from me. So now, it's like I say, y'all can think whatever you want to think. I know the story, and I ain't got no reason for telling no lie. And being that I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, and I was saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost then. No, I'm talking about then when I went to the hospital when the kids was taken from me. You know. So now, in order for us to get that apartment that we was in, there was a fire in the previous apartment that we was in, and that's the one I was in with my husband. By now we're separated. This is the 90s, so we're separated. We were separated since 1986. Okay, so I'm telling the cop, no. I said, now I'm seeing, because I would notice. I was telling them, I said, now I'm seeing what's really was going on, because I would notice that when they would play, I would hear them being out, and I would yell out, all right, y'all stop that. But not knowing that they already have bruises on them from the previous hits and stuff. So I'm trying to think if I ever really found out where those bruises came from. I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's like vaguely coming to me saying that my oldest daughter used to fight them and used to hit them to make them do things. They didn't want to do it, but she used to do it to them. But it was mainly that had the bruise. Well, the different ones had it. Okay. So now, so that went on. So we walked away from the hospital without the kids. And I had to wait for the court date. So now, that went for however long it went. I was in that house for a little bit after my grandmother died. I'm trying to think, where did I move to after that? 1993. 1994. I'm trying to think if I left. I did leave. I'm trying to think whether I went in a shelter. We probably went into a shelter. Yeah, I think we did go into a shelter. No, that was a fire. I'm vaguely remembering. I can't really remember twixt that time when my grandmother died. She died in 95. We were still there, right? I think I found the apartment, but I can't remember what apartment it was. Can't remember apartment. 93, because I moved to Argyle. I don't know where I lived in between that time. So I moved to Argyle. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No. I moved to Argyle in 1993, so that's where I moved to. No, I couldn't move in 1993. I had to move in 1995 because I was still at. Yo, when you start doing story times, you got to think about these things, because I got to make my story go right together. Make sense, as they say, make it make sense. But my grandmother died in 1995. We still was at Saddam Street. Yeah. I think I moved and we went to Argyle Road after that. So I don't even know how I found that apartment, because I had to find it on my own. I think I went through a real estate and I can't remember. My brain is fogged there, so I don't remember what happened from 95 to whenever we moved there. So we had to move there in 95, 96, something like that. 96, 7, 8, 9, 9, 2001, 2, 3. 95, 96, 7, 8, 9, 9, 2001, 2, 3. Yeah, I think Because I only stayed at Argyle for about 7 to 8 years. Right? Because I started promising myself I'm going to stop moving. Because prior to that, I was moving all over the place. I said, I'm going to stop moving. I'm going to start making a decision to stay in my apartment. If rent is owed, I'm going to go work on it and get the rent paid for. But a lot of times I got evicted, not because of rent, because people wanted their apartment. Because public assistance paid the rent. Section 8 paid their rent. So now that I'm thinking about it, I got evicted a lot, but it wasn't because of rent. I thought it was because of rent. That's what I said, because I wasn't paying my rent. I wasn't paying my rent, but public assistance will pay the rent. And when you come with court papers where you in the courts, they pay the rent quick. Even though back then they took their time, more so now they pay it quick because they got a more lockdown on the homeless. So you got an apartment, they ain't trying to get you kicked out of the apartment. You know, so they nowadays they fight for you to keep your apartment. I'm only gonna talk about public assistance. I don't know about no other place. So back then you was in between, you know, if they felt like helping, they help. If not, they didn't. So now, yeah, so we stayed there, went through the courts, whatever the case may be. Yeah, because when I moved to Argyle Road, I didn't have no kids. I didn't have no kids. I moved there by myself. I moved there by myself. Yeah, I moved there by myself. I didn't have no kids. Then they came and stayed. I got them back, yeah. Okay, so this is what happened. Let me tell you how I got them back. They was having a field day with me. Now, I have nothing against ACS. At that time, it's BCW. I had no time. I had no problem with you child welfare, but them people that work there, they could be devious at times. The black folks, right? So I had some issues with some other cultures based on their mentality of raising children. So however they felt like, no, however their culture raised children, they felt the whole world was supposed to raise them that way. So that was my issue with them. I didn't appreciate nobody coming in my house telling me how to raise my children, even though the Bible tells me, right? And especially someone outside my culture, okay? So I was not too much. So I fought them a lot. I argued with them a lot. And that played the part with the length of time they stayed in the system. But I didn't care. You're not coming at my house telling me what to do. Right? So now, I'm trying to think, is it Argyle? After Argyle, we went to Saddam. Okay, so yeah. Once we got in Saddam, I had it all under control. I mean, once we got to Malcolm X, had it all under control. And I moved into Malcolm X without my kids. This is how long. See what I'm saying? Y'all see how many years based on what my children said kept me in the system. There was no way that I could clear my name due to the fact of what they said. Now, I forgot. We went from Bainbridge. I forgot about that. Bainbridge. So that was the first time the children was taken. That is actually the first time. So Danielle wasn't born yet. So this is with my hubby. Sorry, I forgot about that. So that should have been the first story. Okay, so I got to rewind a bit so that you'll get the understanding of why once we got to Argyle, there was issues. Then we got to Saddam Street, it was issues. And it stopped at Saddam Street. I was at Saddam Street for 15 years. So by the time we moved from Saddam Street, my children's grown, got their own kids, and I got like 4, 5 grandkids now. Okay, prior to that, I'm living my first apartment, first getting married. I'm now about 21 years of age with my first two children, because I had two of them. By the time I left my grandmother's apartment with my husband, who was not working, and my father did not like it, and he was going to kick us out. And my grandmother said, you shut up. This is my apartment. This is my house. You don't come in here telling me what to do. You shut up, Jesse. Shut up. My grandmother took up for me. Yes, she did. Because she sat there and she saw how my husband was. And she saw me taking care of my husband like she told me to. And my husband wasn't doing nothing to take care of me. So I was actually walking in the same footsteps as hers. And the Lord showed me a dream. And in the dream, I was in a room in the hospital. But it was a room, lights off. I was in that room by myself, laid out on the bed. I don't know whether I was dead or what, right? And I woke up. And when I woke up and got up and bring my foot over the bed to put my shoes on, they was my grandmother's shoes. And I put my feet in her shoes and I woke up. So what I got from the dream was that I was going to walk in the same footsteps, same exact footsteps. It could be the footsteps, now I'm thinking about it could have been the same lane that she was in. The spiritual aspect of it, she was the evangelist and now I'm an evangelist. The natural aspect is she had an abusive husband. I did. Her abusive husband tried to kill her. My husband tried to kill me. So when I think about it, I said, wow, that dream, man, I said, Lord, did that dream me? I was going down the steps of her. So therefore, just like I said, my grandmother saw all of that. So we left out of there and we moved into our own apartment to shut my father up. My grandmother didn't want me to move. But I told her, I said, Mommy, I got to get out of here because me and Daddy ain't going to make it because I'm grown now. And he ain't going to talk to me any kind of way. And don't make me like to have to slap him upside his little head because that'd be wrong. So I said, I didn't tell her all that, but I was saying that in my head. I said, so let me get on out of here. Right. So we moved into our first apartment. Once we got into that apartment, my husband did what he did, and that's when ACS came into my life. And he told them, see all these lies started from the very beginning, the lies still was going on. It moved from him and went into the children, because the children, his child, started lying on me. So his first lie to the authorities is that I was the one that did it. And I left out and left the child there, gagging for breath. And when he comes out the bathroom, he see her gagging for breath, and he runs out. But it was him that did it all. So now when I get to the hospital, here I am again. Here I am, first time, unable to see my children. Nope, you're not seeing them. What are you talking about? I know you done lost your cotton picking mind. I was saved then, yes I was. And I want y'all to understand, get a picture of what type of woman I was. I was a naive, I'll talk about myself so I can call myself whatever I want to call it. I was a naive, dumb, non-understanding, lack of understanding, lack of love, and hurting young woman at 19 years of age. Yeah, I was saying that I was, okay, so this is the second child, so I'm 20 years old. So I was being manipulated. I was scared. I had nobody on my side. I was being abused, and I didn't want to tell nobody. Not knowing that my children was being abused too. Had no idea. So when it comes to the open and we get into the hospital for the child, now I'm finding out what happened, and now they jumping on me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was not there. When I walked out, I'm crying like that. What are you talking about? When I walked out, my child was lying on the bed crying. Well, you left her crying? Of course I left her crying. Because I left her with her dad. So now I'm going to church. Right? I say I wasn't expecting nothing to happen. I said, what happened? So they told me what happened. I was like, you know how when you hear things about whatever it is, whether it's your children or whatever the case may be, some people's first instinct is to hurt people, right? I'm the opposite. My first instinct is that I'm hurt. And now all that hurt comes on me. And now I'm taking on that hurt. Not only my hurt, but I'm taking on the hurt of my child or whoever it is that's going through it at the time. So once they told me what happened, I took all that in and I just bust out and started crying even more. And that, again, that let the people know that I didn't do it. And so I'm sitting there, I'm crying, and the nurses and the doctors coming to me, and they saying, okay, the social worker came. It's all right, Miss Jordan, all right, just calm down. And I was like, I didn't do it. We know. Just calm down. So now everybody's gravitating to me now because they know that it wasn't me. So now the doctors is like, all right, come on, you can come see your child. So they had my arm, they was rubbing my back, because I don't know, I guess God let them see. And plus I'm coming from church, I'm like a church woman. Church people ain't got no business hurting their children. What's wrong with them? The devil really took over a church person, especially a Holy Ghost filled person, and you going around trying to kill your child? Something wrong with you. You don't know no God. So I guess they had to take that thought out because they see my grandmother there. They see the man that drove us there. He was a deacon or whatever he was. So anyway, so they took me to Tandra and they allowed me to see her. I don't even want to get into that. I think I said that before, but I don't want to get into it because it gets emotional for me. So now, once that's done and over, that was the first time I got into the ACS thing. So now, once they came to the conclusion that it was my husband that did it, they told me in order for me to get my children, I had to get rid of my husband. I was torn between a rock and a hard place. Get rid of my husband? That's not biblical. I'm not supposed to do that. And y'all entitled to say whatever y'all want to say. This is my life, okay? What? I'm not telling nobody nothing. I'm not saying nothing to Pastor Glover. I'm not saying nothing. See, Pastor Glover knew what happened in so many words. Let me think. Does she know? No. Because once they took me, they didn't too much involve because that becomes very private. When they have a child abuse case, especially against a parent, they don't talk to nobody. So even though, well, this time Pastor Glover didn't go with me. It was only the driver. And it was only the driver. We went and got my husband. I'm trying to think, how did my husband get into that? Because he wasn't at the church. But for some crazy reason, I must have told, what's the name, to go. Because they now done took the kids. They took the kids again. So, yeah, they done took the kids. So they had done took those kids that was in the house, which was Mary. No, Mary wasn't born yet. Let me see, it's Tandra. The reason why I'm saying that they had to have the kids because ain't nobody there to watch them kids. Them kids was left in the house. So they said when they went, who knows, maybe, yeah, I think my husband was there, yeah. No, I didn't pick him up. They took the kids and they brought my husband to the hospital. So he was there when I got there. And when I went to him, as soon as I got there, I walked over to him. I tell you something. I was looking for comfort for my husband. No, I didn't get it. So I walked over to him and I said, what happened? And he was like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm boo-hooing and crying. What's going on? What's happening? He didn't tell me nothing. I ain't gonna say he couldn't, because he knew exactly what happened. So anyway, so now once they get me in the confinement behind closed doors where they could just talk to me. So there was a social worker, and that was talking to me, and they wanted to know if I wanted to press charges and all this other stuff. And I was like, press charges? What are you talking about? You know? It was like, yeah, you want to press charges because obviously your husband did this, da-da-da-da-da. Of course, I didn't press those charges. Of course, I did. So anyway, that was the first introduction to ACS. The second introduction was that time when Danielle hurt her finger. So you see how long. Well, it was only 7 years because one of my daughters was born 1985 and Daniel was born 92. So that was 7 years I had the next child. So by the time I had her, I was about 30 years old. 30, 31, I was in my 30s. And actually, I was 29, to be exact. I was 29 years old. So now we moved from the Saddam Street back with ACS. So let me think. Within that 7 years, I was in shelter. Because I got pregnant with Danielle in 1991. So therefore, I left her father and wind up in the shelter again. Went to the shelter, and however it was. And I wind up moving into the Bronx. That was my first time moving in the Bronx. First apartment in the Bronx. And that was on East 183rd Street and Morris Avenue on the 4 line, Jerome side. So, right, I had that apartment. So yeah, after when I left there, I went to Saddam Street. I mean, I keep saying it. When I left there, I went to Malcolm X. Yeah, so that's right. So the younger years, and when I moved to Malcolm X, because when I left Saddam Street, they had the kids. They took the kids. Etc. So now I got the kids back from the finger thing when I moved to Orgal. When I got to Orgal, whatever happened, I had to do this, had to do that. And I got the kids back. And when you get back then, I don't know whether they do it now. Back then, each time the kids is released to you, they gave you money. I think it was like $1,200 per child. So I got that check. It was about $4,000 and something. So we got that check. Orgal, stayed there. Since they were still in my life. And the only reason why they stayed in my life is because I didn't get myself together so that they could see me together and leave. I couldn't stay stabilized long enough. And I wasn't drinking or nothing at the time. No, because I was saved. So I was in and out of church. I was in and out of sites. I was in and out of salvation. So, but I didn't go to drinking, right? So I met the Spanish guy, and upon meeting him, you know, I didn't have the kids. The kids would come and visit, but they wasn't staying with me. So they in foster care now. So they would stay in foster care until I think by now it's ACS now. They done switched from BCW to ACS. So now, So before I can get the kids back from them, remember I got them back once I got to Orgal. Then in Orgal, I lost them again. And, oh wow, my life was a roller coaster. I tell you. I'm trying to get this and make this fast. Because there's some things I need to do. So I went on and kids was taken and kids was taken and I trying to stay focus here. Okay, so now went on from Orgal Road, stayed there, got the kids back, got the money, you know, was able to get some furniture, this, that, and all. I wasn't into it like that, because I would have got me a new stove, new refrigerator, all that stuff with that money, but I didn't. Not that I could spend it. I couldn't spend it because they monitored it. I would have to go to the agency. They would give me the money that I wanted, and then I would go and buy with them, right? So now, in order for me to get the kids back, they was giving me a whole lot of problems because now I'm working. Now I got a job, right? And they started, the person that I had to babysit, I got the kids now. The person that I had to babysit, because they told me that my son couldn't watch the children no more. He wasn't 13 yet, because they said he had to be 13. So he had to be about 11 or 12 now. So can't watch the kids. So I had to get a babysitter. And especially since it was a night job, right? Because then they had so much stuff happen, blah, 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 blah. So I got a babysitter from in the building. Unfortunately, the babysitter was not babysitting, right? But I didn't know that because I'm working. But these people will go and check. And when they go to check, they went there one time and the kids wasn't there. And here I am back into the office again. I'm working. So they taking me out of my job, messing up my salary to tell me to have foolish talk with me. Because they needed to just mind their business. Here I am, black woman trying to work. This is another culture, okay? So now, because in all honesty, I was supposed to be home taking care of my children, because that's what I am. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, so I was supposed to have been home. Unfortunately, there was no man in the house. Me and my husband separated now. So I had to take care of the kids. And being on public assistance, you had to work for that check, just like I said. I had to work for that check. That wasn't my earnings. I had to work for it. So once I started making enough money, got hired by the company, now I'm actually working. I got a pension. I got 4K01 or 401K, whatever that is. I had all that vision. I had a good job. No lie. These people stepped in there, started messing with it. They would pop up my job, and I worked at a private company. So in order for you to get up there, they had to show the ID of who they were. And in order to get into where I was working at, there was a code. So they started popping up to my job, and the boss was like, "What's going on here, Sharon? What's happening?" And I explained to them. I finally explained to them what happened, and they was very sympathetic with me. And they was like, "Well, if you need some time off, you could take that time off. We'll give you pay, because we know you're single." That job was very nice, very nice. I got laid off from the job. No. I didn't get laid off. I quit. That's how it was. Because I went and I told them what was happening. And I told them, after I talked to the workers, as well as ACS, and not the social worker, they had me connected to some agency. So, and in that agency, you get a worker as well. So talking to that worker, They was talking about a babysitter, and I said, well, I ain't got no babysitter. I'll babysit my own children, right? Well, Miss Jordan, you working? I'll quit my job. You'll quit your job? Right? Now, let me think. In order for me to get those kids back, the time that I had them now, I had to get a job. So once I got the job, that's how I got the kids back. The second time when they took the kids from me, they was trying to bring that up. No, now that I have the job, they telling me in order for me to keep the children, I had to do something about my job, right? So I told them I'll quit. Oh, Miss Jordan, you're not gonna quit. I said, listen, my kids come first. So if you are telling me that the problem is no babysitter, and I know to solve this problem is for me to be with my children, then I'll just quit my job. Miss Jordan, you'll quit the job. They had a meeting and I said it in front of everybody. I went back to my job. They told me, okay, Miss Jordan, you quit your job, you'll have the children. They told me this out of their own mouth. See, that's the reason why I record stuff. I didn't record nothing then, so I ain't had nothing to present to the judge. Right? Now, when I get back home, I go to my job that night. I talk to my boss. They called down the big boss. I explained to the boss what was going on. He came with all kind of scenarios. You need a babysitter. You know, you can bring your children here. And I'm like, nah. I'm saying to myself, no. You can't have my children. My children is wild, right? Because they was already, being that they've been in the system since young. And then they come back to me and they go back in the system to come. I had no thought pattern with them. I couldn't say nothing to them. Because they had their own, especially my oldest daughter. She had her own thought pattern. So that training the child in the way it should go and beat him with a rod, you won't spoil him, all that stuff went out the window, you know, since I got them cases, right? So now, I quit my job. They found out I quit the job. They called me in for a meeting, and you know what they did? They took my kids anyway. And Tandra went crazy. She started throwing over the tables and everything. They had to get some security there to restrain. And I was like, get off my child. They was like, Miss Jordan, you ain't got nothing to say now. We got your children now. So I walked out and left. Yes, I did. I left them. There wasn't a thing I could do. And see, now there's something I could have done. If I'd have knew what I knew now, then yes. You see what I'm saying? I could afford it. But just like I said, I would run away from trouble. And I was so fed up. I had went through so much mind-wise that my brain was so packed. I wasn't trying to take on nothing else. And she's screaming and I'm screaming and Mary crying and Danielle Little don't even know what's going on, but she crying, and I just walked out. And I went on back home in my all-gal apartment. I didn't drink or smoke or nothing. Whatever. I didn't have no job to go to, so I'm just there, going to church. Nobody don't know what's going on. They know my kids got to be in the system because they don't see me with my kids, because they know I love my kids. Wherever I go, my kids with me. If they ain't with me, they home. So that went on, and that went on. Now I'm stepping up. The Lord is taking a piece. I'm allowing the Lord to take a piece of my brain. And I'm getting a little fight in me. So the lawyer that I had was connected to the court. And they can't really tell you nothing because they working for the court. So I went out. They had something called legal aid back then. I don't know if they still got it now. But legal aid. And I went and found me a legal aid lady. I went and found me a legal aid office. And it was on Broadway and Marcy or something like that. All the way at the end with a bridge with a what's that? Washington, George, what? No. What's the name of that bridge? Williamsburg Bridge. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Right at the end there. So I went up there. At the main appointment, the whoever worker that was working with me, now it done switched from that agency. Now I got a different agency, and the agency that I'm with, I don't remember the agency I went through. I don't know how many agencies. The agency that I was with, the worker that was working with me, was actually on my side. I finally got a agency that was there to help the parent. Then there was somebody called a parent advocate. So she would call and talk to me and tell me different things. So she sent me information for this particular legal aid firm and told me to ask for this particular lady. So when I went there, asked for her, she was very good. She was very busy. So I finally got an appointment with her. So when I went up, she said, tell me everything. So I began to tell her. I didn't really think I was leaving anything out, but certain things I did leave out. So she was like, okay. She took down my phone number. And she said she wanted the name of my lawyer. She said, all right, I'll talk to them and he'll leave you alone. And wanted to know the next court date, etc., etc. Right, as I'm telling her, now I'm overwhelmed. So I'm sitting there and I'm boo-hooing, I'm crying and stuff like that. She handed me tissue after tissue after tissue. And she's like, oh my goodness, Miss Jordan. I haven't even heard all the story yet. You seem to have went through so much from marriage. She had no idea about my life before that. So she said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down to the court. She said, I got to get your file and I got to read it because I want to understand what's happening with this court, what's going on. She said, if it's all about your husband, then I don't know why you suffer the consequences. Because every time they run my name in the court, it will come up with that first case of me abusing my child, almost killing my child. And that's what kept it going. I didn't know that until she went and read it and then came back and told me. So she went on, she made the next appointment for me before the court date. So I waited. I started getting a little confidence and feeling a little good. Not about myself, about the case, because I ain't thinking about myself yet. Remember I said I had a little piece of brain given to God, and I was beginning to fight, but not fight for my rights. You know, I was busy trying to fight for other people. Now, don't get me wrong, you're supposed to fight for your kids, but you can't do nothing for your kids if you ain't got yourself together. So I was trying to do all I can for them, but I wasn't doing what I needed to do for me. You see, I quit my job, right? Which, in all honesty, I should have kept my job and let them do what they had to do. So at least I would have been stable. I would have had me some money coming in. It's not even all about the money, but it would have showed my stability. But I just quit my job, lost my children, and that was the end of my life. And in their aspect, now she can't do nothing now. She got no other choice but to depend on us. So anyway, I was feeling a little confident in the case that I will win my children back. It's like I said, nothing about me. I wasn't even thinking about me yet. It took me years and years to start concentrating on myself. And that was during this time now, when I finally got sat down to look at myself. And that's when I started noticing what I needed to do for myself, because I was busy doing everything for everybody else. Even though my demeanor gave off like it was all about me. But it wasn't. It was all about everybody else. So God had to sit me down, even though other person sat me down. But it wasn't too much them. It was God sitting me down so I could see me and get me together so that I could serve him. Now, I'm serving him, all right. Let me clarify that. I'm serving him. He's talking to me. He's working things out in my life. He's doing what I'm asking, and I'm doing what he's saying. But there was some place I needed to get in him. And that's why I had to go the way it did. But back then, I was all about everybody else. From my children on down to the dog, the cat that I didn't even have. So now, she sent me to the courts. When I had the appointment with her, I went to her, and she sat there and she looked at me. She said, "Miss Jordan." I said, "Yes." She said, "Do you know what's happening here with your children?" I said, "No." I said, "Yeah, they in the system." And she said, "Do you know why they in the system?" So I was speaking about that present moment. She said, "No." She said, "The courts have a vendetta against you from way back in such and such a time." So I started thinking. She said, "What happened way back then?" I said, "That was when my daughter was born, and a few years after she was born, such and such happened, and she got in the hospital, and I got arrested and all this." She said, "Yes." She said, "From what I read, your husband said that you was the one that hurt your child." I said, "Yeah, that's what means." She said, "But that's not true." I said, "No." She said, "So tell me what happened so we can clarify this record." So I told her what happened. She said, "What? You wasn't even there?" No. She said, "And the police and the doctors and all of them saw that you wasn't there. So they actually saw you came in from church." I said, "Yeah." "And the police did not correct that?" Because they had written in the record that I was not there, but I had went somewhere because my husband didn't tell him I went to church. He was like, "I don't know where she went. She out there hanging out with with her friends." But I was in church. And that's what changed the atmosphere when I walked in, and the doctors and the police saw that. Well, the police wasn't there when he first got hurt. The ambulance brought the child, and the father was there. So the police wasn't in it at the time. They got into it because of the fact when they realized that it was the husband that hurted him. So when I got there, they saw that I came from church. I wasn't there. And when the time that it happened, I was in church. So she said she started writing. She said, "Well, I'm gonna get this cleared off your record, because this is a lie right here." She said, "And this is what I'm working forward to." She said, before I take on a case, I have to talk to the parent. And if I detect that the parent is lying, then I don't take the case." I'll be right back.